to that place where the sun was always gold. A chapter in my life that will never grow old. It's like finding a small treasure buried deep beneath the sand. A gentle, precious feeling held safely in my hand. These are the gold in my mind, the memories shining true.
This presentation is being brought to you by the Tipton Auto Group, Brownsville's oldest continually operating automobile dealership. History Central is proud to receive underwriting from this respectable name in the industry. By virtue of their presence in this market for over a century, beginning with their association with the Ford brand in 1923, they made history in a major way for South Texas. I'm Eugene Fernandez, the director of the South Texas Center for Historical and Genealogical Research. And what I'm about to record here for you is one of the key pieces that I've been wanting to record for quite some time. And it deals with the subject matter of Brownsville and its golden era. Now, whether you're a historian or not, it's not a question of like, well, okay, when was its golden era? Time of the Civil War? No. The social happenings that took place in the years, and I'm going to pinpoint this down, from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s on into the 80s, actually. And I've got a prime guest here because she was there in the thick middle of all of this. I was a bit too young when the 50s were going on and all that, but my guest is Linda Doubleday Montemayor. Linda, it is indeed a pleasure being here and doing this interview with you. You're the prime candidate to comment on these particular subject matters.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, when you say the golden era, there's going to be some highlights that we're going to hit here, and that's the purpose of our website recording here. So let me ask you, when you came into the age where you were into participating in some of these social things that are on Brownsville's horizon, what was the first thing that absolutely just came out and you said, oh my, this is beautiful, this really represents our society here?
I think it was the socializing, the gala, how both cities participated in everything.
Both cities, so we were indeed twin cities joined at the hip.
Yes, indeed. It was totally integrated at that time. Homogenized, you might say.
Well, that is a beautiful thing to say about our society, because look at the relationship between the two cultures. Mm-hmm. And you had Brownsville and you had Matamoros, and a lot of people, especially from out of the area, wouldn't have thought that. But we did it in grand style, didn't we?
We did indeed, and as I said, it was totally integrated, whether it was in the social part or in business, in families.
Okay, it was a complete life together, wasn't it?
Completely.
As I guess we could claim, it was a marriage.
Right.
Okay. Well, how did it manifest itself? That you could say that we really lived the era and saw the things of beauty and created the things. What was created during that period that you can recall? It was a wonderful social hallmark.
Oh, there were so many things. There was the galas. We had so many galas a year. And these were really dressed events, and they took place always in the Fort Brown, the Jacob Brown Auditorium there. And, right. I mean, you had Charo Days, which was celebrated by the whole town. Everybody was in costume, the clothes, the streets were closed, the stores were all participating. It was just a glorious thing. There was dancing in the streets. There were food, I guess you call them food carts now, but little people set up their food stands and what have you. Yeah. And then you had on Thursday night, the dance for teenagers, held in the Fort Brown Auditorium with the same band that was playing all weekend for everybody. It was always packed. Then you had the Friday night ball, and then you had the grand ball on Saturday night. And big orchestras are brought in for this. Glenn Miller.
Yeah, that's on a national scale.
Oh yes, they were all national bands brought in during the Charo Days. And even for some of the other events, there were some smaller venues. There was the Cattleman's Ball, there was the Cotton Ball, there was the 400, and they always did a masquerade ball.
A masquerade ball. This is so wide in scope here in spectrum, because if you had what we were associated with down here as an agrarian economy, the cotton, that cotton was king during that period. We'll get to that. But then the Cattleman's Ball, a lot of us were ranchers, but where was that? Where was the epicenter of that?
They usually had it in Harlingen, believe it or not.
Harlingen. So therefore, you not only had a joining here of a brother-sistership of cities, Harlingen was brought into that fold as well.
As the Cotton Ball was in Harlingen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was very close-knit very back then.
You titled it under the category of galas, and now I can see how that's coming together, because these dances were during these particular periods of celebration. So the galas to the max, right?
Always. Everybody's dressed to the nines. It was beautiful. And then you had Matamoros that had some charity things. I think the Rotary did one. Api was another one, and this is my favorite one over there, because it was held in Amador Garza's family's backyard, which was a Japanese garden. And I got to participate because they had a style show, and of course if we get model in the style show.
Well, who did you model for?
I modeled for 3 different people. I modeled for Bolak's, Ralph's, and Lydia's.
Oh, whoa, yeah, there you go. During that particular period, those were the ones that were always in the society page.
Yes, and then, of course you had Vogue as well.
Vogue.
The Vogue store. They were always part of it. And so, I was trying to remember, I don't think Joy Lee was, because at that time they only sold children's clothes.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the whole city is my earliest recollection. This harkens back to what you were saying about the streets being shut off, and the center of the city was ground zero for a bustle of activities. Now, mind you, my mother was there at Parker and Tucker. It was an insurance claim agency in the First National Bank. So you're talking about Elizabeth Street and 12th. When I would visit her, and of course she brought me to the office during these festivities and all that, we would look out the window there on 12th Street, look down, and there were these tents with, you could throw a quarter, and if one stuck, then you get a teddy bear.
Party time.
Yeah, the whole, I guess I don't know how many of those side streets were blocked off, but a goodly number. And then a real fond memory I have here, I'm sure that you'll share this with me, is Tony Marquette's the White Kitchen.
Oh, well, not only the White Kitchen, Texas Cafe.
The Texas Cafe, yeah.
That's where everybody hit after being in Matamoros all night.
That's right. Or Duck Hunting, you go there in the morning.
Exactly. No, fabulous. But one thing you forgot about Charo Days was the men that were put in jail for not having beards. Remember all of that?
Yes, I do. And when I came into visualizing on this, it was rather stark, because my grandmother was managing the Miramar apartments right across from the Church of the Advent.
Yes.
And so they kind of staged the areas there. And I saw this cage with a turlet in it. You know, how in the world, what was going to go on in there? My child's mind was going crazy.
That was the men that didn't have beards.
Yeah, it was the price that one pays. Now, getting back to the Texas Cafe in relation to Charo Days, in my research later on, I was astounded, because it stands to reason that it was a congregating point. Tony had everybody through there at the time.
Of course.
You know, Tito Puente, you had Desi Arnaz, and I'm close friends with his daughter. And so I'm actually going to get together with her shortly and figure out, sure he had pictures of all of that. But so therefore you had the White Kitchen, you had also the Texas Cafe, and then Landrum's fit in there because it was right in that zone, right?
Landrum's originally was between 13th and 14th Street on Elizabeth.
Yes, right there at the entrance of the fort, but later on, yes, across
Correct.
from the border station.
And then it moved over to Levy Street into the old Carlos Watson house.
Yes, right. That particular house, God, it was so dear.
It was.
And I remember going there. I don't remember going to the one on Elizabeth Street, though I knew it existed. But the one there on Levy Street was the Indalecio Trevino house, and of course, Don Pancho Ituria married daughter. But that house was classic. And the way they had it outfitted, did I remember correctly, they had two gas lights went on each side of the
Very
entrance?
possibly, yes.
And the interior, as a child seeing that, was impeccable. My mother took me there. Really, really enjoyed that. So, food was abundant, and I remember the carnival came.
Exactly, yes.
mhm.
There was always a carnival.
Yeah, yes. And then, an amazing thing, people in this present day are going to find this hard to believe, but there was an open bridge.
Yes,
Yeah.
totally. And the parade went not only from Sam's Stadium,
Yes.
it went all the way through Matamoros, all the way up to their plaza,
To
and
the
turned
plaza.
around and came back.
Goodness gracious.
Yes.
So there was a true joining of the cities
Yes.
during that era.
Completely.
Outrageous. Well, and so I'm looking at the latter part of the 1950s going into the 60s,
Mhm.
and so there were some magnanimous people that were in Brownsville that contributed to the gaiety as well as to the physical structure of making the town beautiful. Isn't that true? Who do you recall that was in that grouping?
Definitely the Porters, Neil and Dean Porter,
Aye,
the
uh-huh.
Leitners.
Yes. Oh, the
You know,
Sams.
The Sams did so much. I mean, whether it was the football field, with the scoreboard, whether it was the Girl Scout camp,
The
time to
Sams.
time. Yes, I mean,
And the swimming pool.
and the swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and there was a pool there where I was the lifeguard.
Yes, the
one
pool.
year.
I remember that
And
pool. There's a
the
tennis court
rest of-
too.
Yes, the tennis courts.
And then if you would flash back, you would see Gene Fernandez out there with a racket in 61, 62,
Uh-huh.
and then whatever else. But yes, that whole complex and the city library found a home.
That's where it was.
That complex, you are right about, there were so many amenities that Brownsville benefited from, sports level to your societal level with the concerts that were in the Jacob Brown Auditorium.
And then we had the concerts that were brought in by the community concert group. We had ballets, we had symphonies from all over.
Yeah.
I think one of our biggest draws was when Arthur Fiedler came with a ball.
I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that, and let me tell you one thing, Arthur Fiedler's still talking about me. Because my father took me to and that might be a particular concert, because I've got a photographic memory. That might be the particular concert that I remember. We were walking down to take our seat, and we stopped to say hello to your mother. And so I think that was the beginning of a closer relationship, say. But after Arthur Fiedler did the orchestra and all of that, I was so taken by that because my father introduced me to the world of music. He had a whole collection of old classical 78s and all. Anyway, so I was into music, and I was so taken by that. I went backstage to get an autograph from him. And I'm sure this is the only time he's ever been approached with the request to do an autograph on a shotgun shell. Why did I have a shotgun shell in my pocket? Because it was my first duck that I shot out on Wally Reed's ranch. And so I gave it to him, and he looked up at me like, yes, yeah, just sign it. And, okay, I'll do that.
Oh my gosh.
Now, on the other, I seem to recall that your mother was very involved with the Community Concert Association.
Mm-hmm.
How long a span did that Community Concert Association exist?
I have no idea. Mother was the drive chairman for 20 years until her death.
Wow, 20 years. And then, I'm sorry
Well,
for
I
that.
don't know who. I
Yeah.
know Mrs. Cromack was in there.
Kermit Cromack.
Yes. And there were so many that made that association great.
Right.
We had a wonderful team under us. And we had people, exactly. In fact, Mitch Miller had heard about this. I don't know
Mitch
how.
Miller, yeah.
And he wanted his whole group to go over and eat in Matamoros. And
Oh,
so we
goodness.
took them all to the drive-in.
That's a whole altercation with Mitch Miller. And of course, the hangers-by of our society that took place there. Now, the dances and all that must have been stupendous. We hit upon how Brownsville managed those, and I guess centered upon the Jacob Brown Auditorium. Were there galas and festivities of that similar type in Matamoros, and where were they held?
Always at the casino.
The casino. Now,
Oh, as I said, except for that one event.
yeah,
that was
right. That
held
was
at-
okay. But now, and did they have enough room in that in order to do
Oh, it was
dances?
very, very large.
Fine.
It probably, well, it went all the way from the street to the alley, and then
And then also, what about the Teatro Reforma that was there?
that is still there as far as I know. That was a magnificent structure.
Yeah.
You know, they started bringing, there was a group that started a cultural center there that brought in operas, and they would have a whole
No better place for
season.
that.
Yes, they're in October. They would have all these different artists, not just singers but pianists, violinists, all these
Wow.
world-renowned people would come and perform in October.
Road shows that were a category.
Yes.
My goodness, there again, and thankfully enough, they refurbished that old structure because that structure was built. Of course, we've heard this from the Maximilian era, and they refurbished it, and so there's a continuance of the use of that, which is thankfully they've done that. It also has a social circle there. It is so beautiful.
That did, yes, that did take care of things like that. And you've got to remember that Matamoros had all the great restaurants and all the great nightclubs.
Restaurants, yes,
Yes.
indeed.
know,
Now,
they
go down
had-
the list of those restaurants because our heart's going to throb when you hear
Oh,
these names, right?
okay.
What were they?
Well, you had the drive-in, you had the Texas Cafe, the Matamoros Cafe,
Yes.
you had Renos, you had Piedras Negras.
Yeah, the names, right.
You had,
Uh-huh.
yes, then you had all the great nightclubs in the drive-in, and the Matamoros Cafe and the San Antonio were all outdoors. The Matamoros Cafe and the San Antonio were rooftop clubs, and the
Okay.
drive-in was like an amphitheater.
A garden, an outdoor garden. Yes.
Yes.
My father explained that very briefly to me, and I thought he must have been. I thought it was an adjunct structure, but no, that's the way it was.
That was it. It was a huge amphitheater with about 4 different levels for the seating.
Right?
The bandstand was against the wall, and the band was so large that there was a platform that came out from underneath it for the stage.
They could push
For
a button, and a mechanized outfit would do
Yes,
that.
yes.
Amazing.
Before we come out for the show,
Show, you
whenever
say.
the show
What kind
they
of
had.
shows did they have?
they brought in actors and singers, basically singers from Mexico City.
Oh,
So it was all top-notch
well, yeah.
floor shows.
Think of who was on the world music scene during
Uh-huh.
those days. Wow.
Yes, it was very, very beautiful.
Yeah, that.
And the other clubs had minor acts that came into them.
But they were floor shows
Floor
as well,
shows,
type of thing.
yes.
And when people talk about floor shows here, they think about Vegas and all of that. But we really had them. We had them in a magnificent manner. The floor shows that were here, right?
Exactly. Like the old Las Vegas that only had 200 or 300 people in the audience, not like these.
Yeah,
Huge
exactly.
auditorium.
What happened to the drive-in? How and when did it change in order to become an indoor venue?
They tore it down, I believe, in about 1958,
Yes.
and it took them, I think, 2 years to build, and then that is what is standing there now.
Were you happy when they tore it down?
I cried.
Cried. Yeah, I bet.
I loved being outside.
Because you already
at
had
night.
your entertainment niche right
Well,
there. that you
it's
did.
beautiful here at night.
Right.
You've got the stars, you've got the
Yep.
soft tropical breeze. I love it outside at night here.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And I would imagine that they had weather protection to a degree there, or
No,
it's limited to.
They had a smaller building
Okay.
that you used if there was a rain or something like that. And speaking of that, it reminds me because one December it was cold, there used to be posadas in Matamoros.
Posadas. Now you're getting into a very serious subject for us culturally.
Okay, and
Yeah.
everybody would go to them. The Rotary had one, the Lions had one, all these different groups had a posada, and they would be given at one of the nightclubs or some of them in the casino. But it was always such a fun time. Such a fun time.
That when we hit upon those people that were really active in the social scene at that time, they made their place in heaven. And setting the scene for this, and setting the as how Brownsville looked during that period. And I'm going to remain, I guess, positive in my appreciation of that, because I can cry all day long with the loss of the Missouri Pacific train station
gosh,
and the Vivier
yes.
Opera House and all that. But think about how they structured the city, and this was almost like a pre-planned community on photo ops on saying, well, okay, well, here's the old Hardin Hotel, there is the Missouri Pacific train station, then there's the Chamber, all Spanish colonial revival architecture, and then the Gateway Bridge.
Yeah,
right?
that was a big deal. That went in.
That we had Brownsville beautiful at that time, even though I'm very admiring of what the city administration is doing now with the center of there by the Market Square. But tell me about Matamoros and Calle Obregón and and the Colonial Jardín. Those were just really primed up to great beauty.
It was absolutely beautiful. As I've told you before, Matamoros and Brownsville were both the shining stars on the border. From here to Tijuana, there was never anything like these two. And you won't believe it now, but Brownsville was the largest city in the valley.
Oh, yes.
No other city could hold a candle to us. We were the first with a big auditorium for national conventions.
Oh, yes.
Here.
Right.
And then you had all the other events that transpired in that place.
Yeah.
But it was a golden era. I just wish we could duplicate it because of all that there was to do any given night of the week.
But all right, let me make you smile. What about the Fort Brown Motor Hotel?
What about that?
Oh,
That was a beautifully laid out complex.
It was. If you're trying to match it anywhere in the nation, it was unique.
It was unique. I love the way they did their air conditioning system for the water. They controlled it. Do you remember a waterfall that they built behind it?
I do indeed.
And it had a wine cellar.
Oh, yes, indeed. That is right. I wonder whose idea that was.
I don't know, but you could always have it for a private party.
Yeah, that is great. And they had 4 penthouses.
Uh-huh. No, it was a beautiful, they had the hotel, and then they had the condos.
Yes, exactly. And then they also had, there was a soccer club.
Oh, well, the restaurant and the club,
Yeah,
yes.
And that was before liquor by the drink, I think. So you had to have a membership. The whole scene there in those days, the 50s, Brownsville was an agrarian economy, right? Now, there's something that was very beautiful that came along with that, and that was the cotton was king period, and that got up into Matamoros as well. Explain what your exposure to that was.
Well, I think the biggest farmers were in Mexico.
Yes.
We had a few here. We had, Wentz, and we had several here. The
Russells. Yeah, right.
And several smaller farmers.
Okay.
But Matamoros had the bigger ones, and I think that's where the Avilas and the Garza, they not only had cotton though, but they had banks and car agencies and theater.
The hotel.
And the hotel.
Well, now, was he prominent throughout his life, or did he get inherited? I'm not going to get into personal. Inherited money, or how did he get so many?
I'll tell you how. There were 5 brothers.
Uh-huh.
They lived in Laredo.
Laredo, you say?
Yes. Their father died, and he left a nice life insurance.
Yes.
And the oldest brother, Chito,
yes,
was a brain. He was just a genius in business.
Right.
And he organized this whole thing, and he's the one that built it up into what it was. So all of the brothers shared in this. There were 4 men and 1 sister.
Right.
And he's the one that built it up.
Well,
it all came from there.
And how does Shelby fit into that?
He was his brother, one of the younger brothers.
So here I've been hearing of Shelby all along, and I thought that he was the star pupil, and it was actually his brother.
The oldest brother.
Right.
And there was Alfredo and Wayo and Shelby, and the boy's name, and the girl's name. But it was Chito that built the whole thing up. And everybody got their own area in Mexico.
Well, that's a planned existence there. He was very intelligently. He must have been a highly intelligent person.
Oh, highly. And Wayo stayed in Laredo. Chito went to Mexico City.
Okay.
I think Alfredo did too, I'm not sure. But anyway, that's how it all came about.
Laredo was really the key to a lot of the development here during those times. The tie that I remember, and it added to Elizabeth Street. Elizabeth Street back in those days was called the Gaza Strip, right?
Really?
Yeah, it's called the Gaza. You know why?
No.
You had Harry Katz, you had Mike Begum, and then you had, of course, Sam Pearl and all of the Jewish crowd that were there. But you had the Katz and Begum came down together from Laredo. You know, their mercantile business as a haberdasher came from Laredo, and then they settled here. So then that added to our mix for sure, and of course
Well, Katz was a Johnny-come-lately because
Yeah.
the Pearls and
Yeah.
Bingham and all of them were at Edelstein. Everybody of that group was well established before he got
the
here.
Kowalskis were here. I found out that I'm related to the Longorias. You know, I'm related to my Labrador Retriever. I found out that not too long ago. But there was my aunt Kowalski, and if I was here long enough to remember his name, married one of Shelby's brothers. Do you get that connection?
Of course she did. She married Wyo.
Dorothy. Yeah.
Dorothy married Wyo. Yes, I know them very well.
That's I guess if we were trying to put our family trees together, we would come up with a bowl of spaghetti. Then the homes that were there and along that one stretch in particular, where Luis Avila's home, mind you, Luis came from Laredo as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, but that whole stretch of like 4 gigantic homes and all of that, one of which was a Longoria home, was a sight to behold, right?
It was, and it was, the architect, I believe, was from California.
For all of them?
No, Shelby's
Oh, Shelby's.
was that fabulous California long.
Yes.
His family room was probably 20 feet high. They had actual trees growing in there.
My goodness.
It was beautiful. The tile was brought in from Portugal that was in the foyer.
Yes.
It was a marvelous home. It was just so a great house for entertaining.
Did you ever participate in one of those shows with Camille?
Oh, yes.
You did?
Yes.
I remember Paul Springman was very active, and of course Mrs. Springman as well, and the various people. Now, in my life, I've had various encounters that you would, oh my God. Do you realize that I was almost hung once?
What did you do now?
I was Reynard the Fox in the Camille Playhouse. So and there's a Herald photo with the cast, and that was the travel agent that was here at the time, and his mother.
Shans?
Yes, remember her?
Of course.
Yeah. And also Bill Creekmore with Minimax, and all of these people were in this particular play. And I was the star, I was Reynard, and they had a picture of them putting the noose around me because it was part of the script. You know, I could go on for days on this conversation because it's just such a favorite of mine. I really appreciate your input into this. And I hope that my viewing audience can really visualize now what Brownsville was all about, with the mention, of course, that the tender care that's being nurtured right now to bring Brownsville into an era that will probably astound us all, so far as matching the vibrance of what our community had back in those days. So I really appreciate your settling with us here, and I most definitely appreciate your contribution to this whole subject matter here. I couldn't have done it without you. It's just beautiful there. Thank you so very much.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah.
I could talk about old Brownsville forever. I loved it. I enjoyed it.
Well, what I'll do is I'll just, if you've got a couch here, I'll stay here for the next month, and we can go ahead and conclude the conversation.
Have all that fun.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right, so there you have it. You have a little window into that you can look out of, and you can see Brownsville the way it was. I really appreciate your attention on this.
I go back to that place where the sun was always gold, a chapter in my life that